Hello, everybody. I hope your holiday season is going wondrously well. I know that this time of year can be a very enthusiastic time of year. Sometimes it can be a very stressful time of year as well, and sometimes it can be a joyful time of year. And it's really sometimes quite a mixed bag. But boy, where did 2015 go? It looks like, one moment we're just, kind of looking here and 2015 rolling in, and then the next thing you know, blink and you miss it, right? It just completely goes out the other side, or at least it's getting ready to. And the thing that us astrologers get asked this time every year is, what does 2016 hold in store for me? And as you might have guessed, us astrologers also get asked over and over again about a few different things, right? How are relationships looking for me this year? How are relationships going to go? Am I going to have a relationship this year? Or is my marriage going to survive this year? How is my career going? More importantly, it's usually how are my finances going in association with my career. But sometimes those two go hand in hand. Then the other thing we get asked is, am I going to move this year? I'm thinking about moving. I'm not happy where I'm living, wanting to move. And how does my health look for this year? Those are the things that astrologers get asked the most. Why? Because they're kind of associated with what are called the angles of the chart. The first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses. Those are the concrete areas of a person's life where things are usually the most prominent and the most highlighted. So I thought that I would start a video series on the main things people are interested in astrology, and how astrology can help you with all of those things in 2016. So let's roll up the sleeves and let's get down to it. First, we're going to talk about how Vedic astrology can help your career in 2016, what it can do for you. Maybe your career has not been zooming. Maybe it's down in the gutter right now and it's not really doing anything, or maybe it was going well for a while and it's taken a little bit of a dip. Maybe you don't have the resources that you'd like to have to do what you'd like to do business-wise. Maybe what you're doing for a living, it feels like it's affecting your finances and you're not happy with it. Well, with Vedic astrology, we can look at all of those things. And additionally, we can also take a look at what's going wrong and what might be able to help you. So we're going to get into looking at a chart or two and pointing out some things about how a Vedic astrology consultation can help you with your career in 2016, what us astrologers would look for in order to see how things are going to go for you. I haven't disappeared. I'm right over here. I thought I'd bring you into the astrology software so I could point out a few things. Vedic astrology is a very precise system for several different reasons. But one of the ones I want to focus on today in relation to talking about how Vedic astrology can help you with your career are something called the Varga charts. Now, basically, most people, if you're familiar with astrology at all, know about their birth chart, which is this main chart that we're looking at over here. But Vedic astrology also has a chart for different areas of a person's life, right? So if we want to look at career, we would look at the D10, also called the Dashamsha. D10 means the 10th divisional chart, in order to see a person's capacity for great success. Now, quite often when people are asking about career, really what they're asking about is money. Right? So, and if you come to me for a look ahead at 2016 in terms of career and how I can help you, we'd probably take a look at all three of those things. We'd take a look at career, we'd take a look at finances, and see how we can put together a plan for you based upon the things that we're looking at. But what I wanted to show you today, and there are really so many different little tricks that us astrologers can use to help you with particular areas of your life in terms of whether you're looking for help with relationship, career, etc. So in terms of helping you with career, I'm just going to focus on one today, but there's so much more we can do. But I find this to be one of the most helpful ones because it can show where there's something wrong and also how we can help that and get you back in alignment. And it's something called the Logitati of Astas, which is why you see all these numbers over there. And don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with too many technical details, only those necessary to get a point across. But the D10, or 10th divisional chart, or Dashamsha, we'll call it the D10 from now on, is what we would look at if we wanted to understand a person's capacity for success. So if you're coming to me for a look ahead at 2016, I would likely go over into this area where you see I just highlighted something that's blue, and I would see what planets are most active for you through something called the Vimshottari Dasha period, which is going to show how you're subjectively experiencing something. If this were your chart, maybe it is your chart if you were born in 1892, but I doubt that's the case unless you're really fortunate and also blessed with really wonderful health. But we're not looking at health, we're looking at career, right? So you would be in Jupiter, Venus. So what we would do is we would look at your Dashamsha chart, and we would see what Jupiter is associated with and what Venus is associated with, right? So what we can do, one of the ways we can do it is I like bringing up this chart. It kind of shows all the things that those particular planets are connected with. Jupiter is going to be, by having a connection with these numbers 2 and 5, he's going to be connected with your business resources and your capacity to apply creative intelligence to use with those particular business resources. And if this is your chart, well, if you're in Jupiter, Venus, well, things are a little bit difficult for you, right? Because what we do is we look at Jupiter, as we're pointing right here, and then we look at Venus and we cross over, and here we see a negative 4.9. Because you've got Jupiter and Venus both active, that would show that you're experiencing some difficulty. We would have to see what that difficulty is related to by looking at what Venus is associated with in your particular chart. Now Venus, if this is your chart, has some decent strength. Venus is doing okay. I wouldn't say that Venus is, super strong, but he's, doing well enough to make things productive for you. Okay? So basically, because Venus is something that's called a Yama, and something called a Yama Dashamsha, or is a Yama-associated planet, that means something about self-control. Self-control with what, though? Self-control in terms of business, because we're seeing the 7th house, self-control in terms of transition and transformation you're going through, self-control in terms of expense, self-control in terms of gains and how to manage that wisely and how to manage other people's resources. All those things would be appearing in the equation as something that it is actually wise for you to do, okay? But walking that path is not helping you with your resources, and it's also saying that you're not really applying yourself as wisely as you possibly could. And because Jupiter is a Maruta planet, well, that would mean that you're making changes that are not really the wisest changes for you in relation to trying to control spending, trying to deal with some business changes that you're going through that may be necessary. But you're trying to find the balance. How can you manage those resources wisely too? And also, how can you also curb spending? Well, what we would need to look for in this particular situation, because I'm looking ahead, is we would want to see a planet that is actually helping Jupiter, right? And in this particular case, that's the Sun. And the Sun is a good planet in this chart. Mainly for the reason that the Sun is very strong, could be stronger, but it's very strong. And in addition to that, the Sun is able to help Jupiter without hurting Venus. So the spending can be curtailed, and money can be spent wisely, and business relationships can be handled well. And you can also find a way to help with resources and to make wise choices and not make foolish gambles. How are you going to do that? You're going to exercise the sun. And we want to see what the sun is associated with. Just looking at these numbers briefly, 3, 6, and 10. So that means, really putting effort in, doing hard work, rolling your sleeves up, focusing on making yourself more prominent, because we're talking about the sun, and we're also talking about the sun in Leo here, making yourself more prominent, making yourself more noticeable, all of those things. Right? Best way to do that would be through putting forward a marketing campaign, working on a marketing campaign, which would be like a third house matter. How can you express your business, right? How can you work harder in order to make things better? And since we're dealing with the 10th house, how can you do all those things to make yourself more noticeable to the public? Well, in order to see that a little more deeply, I would go and I would look at the sun and where the sun is located. In order to do that, I have to take a look at a few different factors. So application, because the sun is in a position in the sky that's called Mula Nakshatra. So you need to really apply yourself, get down to the root of what the essence of your business is. Because Mula is about the root, getting to the root of what the essence of your business is. What is your potential? Who are you? Identify that potential and really find a way to make that more noticeable to the masses at large, right? So here we can see that would be a really good plan to help you with your potential business success. And you'd also be exercising that 10th house, which the 10th house is very important to career. So this is how, if this were your chart, I would put together a business plan for you. We'd also want to take a look, just briefly while we're here, at how resources are going in general for you, okay? By looking, again, at Jupiter and Venus, what they're associated with. Jupiter itself is associated with resources in this particular chart, which is called the D2 or Hora chart. So that's about taking care of your needs. And because of being in Jupiter Venus, well, that's a bit difficult because of the influence that Venus is having. So again, we can see that there would likely be still some problems with resources because quite simply, there's just not enough strength there in order to deal with it. But at least you'd be knowing how to apply yourself to put things back in the, start moving things back into the green financially, right? Still exercising the sun would help Jupiter. Not as much as he's having difficulty with Venus, though. Then we'd want to look at fixed assets, which is related to something called the D4, and do the same thing here. So here we can see expense and resources both being highlighted. And here we can see that the way to help to build those things up is related to whatever the sun is associated with. And the sun is connected with the 8th Rashi. So a business loan might be something that you want to consider during a time such as this. How to bring other resources into the equation in order to help to give yourself a boost. If we're looking at the Hora chart in the same way we just did with this one, we'd also see what the sun is associated with here. And again, we're seeing that 8th house association, which again means other people's resources. So when I see something like this and it's a business-related question, we're usually talking about a business loan of some sort, is what's going to help this particular business. So if this were your chart and you were having some career difficulties, if you remember we were talking about things associated with restriction in terms of expenses, how to work more wisely with the resources that you have on hand, how not to restrain yourself too much, but also not to make foolish gambles. And with that, it was very much the sun that was helping with that. So in terms of career, you need to put together a marketing campaign. You need to work harder and perhaps deal with the business debts that you have and you need to make yourself more prominent. In terms of the finances that are there, well, something that's going to help you with that is taking out a loan. So if you would like for me to look at your chart in this very same way, I am doing year ahead looks for people. You can just tell me what you're most interested in, whether it's just a general look ahead or a specific area of your life. But if you want a career look ahead, please specify that and we can take a look at that. And if you want to order before Sunday, the 20th at midnight, that's midnight at night, in between Sunday and Monday. So the 20th at midnight Greenwich Mean Time. If you order before then, you can get 15% off of a look ahead for you in terms of career for 2016 or anything else you want to look ahead with. So this was just a brief look. There are so many different factors we can look at, but if you want to put together a plan on how to make your business better for 2016, please just visit the link in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can send me an email or contact me or just order the service through the site. Thank you.